My name is Chris Justice. I'm a coordinator with the Digital Learning and Instructional Technology Department here in Clark County School District. I've been with the district as an educator in various responsibilities for 16 and a half years. And I'm excited today to talk to you folks about Google Classroom and how we can use some of the AI tools in Google Classroom to make our jobs easier. So this actually, I like this session a lot. So we're going to get into some stuff. I'll go over, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's take a look at where it says in red. First of all, today's session will be recorded. So if I'm going too fast, it'll be okay. I'll give you that link to the video recording later today or tomorrow morning, depending on how long it takes to get that email from Google. Also, take a look at the other text in red at the bottom of the screen. It says, before we begin, select a standard or topic to develop classroom resources using AI. So as we go through the learning intentions and success criteria in today's agenda, I want you to think about that. Maybe a standard, a very specific standard would be good, or a topic that will be taught in the beginning of the school year in August. If you can't think of anything and you just want to kind of hang out and practice making something that you may or may not use study skills is a good kind of all-encompassing idea about maybe something that we can use at the beginning of the school year too. All right. I was a science teacher. I used to teach AP environmental science. And so actually forgot to do this, but I'm going to really quickly look up my curriculum, and I'm going to try to get a cool topic for myself as we go over this. All right, so take a look. The learning intention and success criteria here for today's session is that we are going to learn how to use AI tools within Google Classroom to help lesson planning and create digital handouts. And then we will know that we were successful if we can use AI integrated workflows within Classroom to design, format, and distribute instructional materials that enhance student engagement and classroom management. So pretty ambitious there, series of learning intentions and success criteria. Today's agenda, we'll first get into Classroom, and we're going to create like a sandbox. It's one of the terms that we use within the Canvas world, and we're going to use it here too. I think a sandbox is kind of cool because you can design and create things within that sandbox in a low stress environment. There's no students, there's no other teachers in it. Highly suggest you never add anybody to this sandbox. And then you can transfer those materials from the sandbox into your student-facing classes later on. All right, let's see. I'm looking at my curriculum here on the other screen. I'm going to do topic 7.7, acid rain. That sounds like an interesting one. So that's my topic. Hopefully you folks have chosen something for yourself as well. So let's get into Classroom. I'll take you on a tour of it. We'll also create a sandbox, not necessarily in that order. Let's create a new tab from our window. And we'll go to classroom.google.com, or take a look in the upper right-hand corner from the Meet screen, that waffle, that 3x3 grid. We can also find Classroom as one of these options here too. It looks like a little chalkboard. Let's click here. And here's what I'll do. I'll just put it into the down here into the chat. You can just click on that if you wanted to. All right. All right. So if you're looking at my Meet screen here for the visual, or toggling back and forth between the Meet and really the dashboard, right? The home page, the landing page here in Classroom. This is what we're looking at. You may or may not have as many classes as I have. I've been doing this session a couple times, so I start to accrue more of these. Take a look here. So if I wanted to start to clean up, like let's say that we're next school year and you finished up your 5 sections of whatever class you're teaching, you wanted to get rid of and clean up some of this landing page, I can come over yonder and mouse over the tile. I click on that vertical ellipsis and I can click archive. So let's just do that. I'm going to do this with my sandbox from last week. So I'll click archive and click next, and it sends it. So take a look. On the left here is my sidebar menu. I can open up that sidebar menu if I needed to see all of this stuff. And if I scroll all the way down to the bottom, is where I can find all of those old archived classes, where I can permanently delete them if I want to. But like, there's no real reason why you'd want to delete some. Maybe you have some really cool stuff from previous years. And so, yeah, I would keep it. You can still access those archived materials, but you can't if you delete them permanently. All right, let's come back here to my home. What else can I say? Oh yeah, this is interesting. You can move these around. I know I like to organize my dashboard in Canvas by moving the tiles around. You can do something very similar here, right? To kind of put the different icons into the exact order that you wish by just grabbing them and holding them, pulling them around. Look at the upper right-hand corner if you're looking at your dashboard. In fact, let's toggle over to your dashboard in your classroom. Now, you won't have to do this next school year. That's the cool thing. This is one of the reasons why the district has said, you know what, there have been some really great improvements with Classroom. We're going to turn it back on for students next school year. The reason why is because of the integration with Classroom and Infinite Campus. All of those sections that are automatically created for you in Infinite Campus and rostered in Infinite Campus will actually populate here in your dashboard. So while in a moment we're going to click on that plus sign in the upper right-hand corner to create a new class, we won't have to do that next school year, which is great. We also won't have to have students use codes to click on join class. All of that rostering will happen automatically through Infinite Campus. So as students enroll or leave your different sections throughout the school year, those rosters will automatically be populated without you having to worry about anything. You might be wondering, well, what about the assignments too? You'll be able to send those assignments from Classroom to Infinite Campus. Another really great improvement that wasn't present when Classroom was turned on for teachers about 8 years ago. So pretty cool. So while we're going to click on that plus sign in the upper right-hand corner to create a class, just know that we won't have to do this next school year. Let's go ahead and click that now. It's like looking for courses that I might have in my SIS, my Student Information System, but we'll just click skip. And then let's label this Sandbox. And for me, so that I can archive it next time I do this section, I'm going to label it with a date, but you don't have to do that. All right, that's the only required field there. So let's go ahead and click create. We'll skip all the rest of it. And now it should automatically open. We've got a gorgeous sandbox that we can start to create stuff in. Yes. How are we doing out there so far? Yeah. Use those emojis. Yeah, give me a thumbs up. Give me a heart if you're really into like, oh my God, Classroom integration with Infinite Campus. Heck yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Exactly. This is going to be a game changer. I am a huge fan of Canvas. I did everything in Canvas when I could show you my class. I had everything, all of my assignments, everything came in through Canvas. I would switch over to Classroom. That's my opinion. I would, even that means like having to redo everything. I would like, because it's so great and it's so easy. I'm a huge fan of it. Take a look, that class code. Again, you don't have to get class codes out to students. In fact, take a look, click on that vertical ellipsis next to class code. We just turn that off. Don't ever highly suggest, in fact, I'm going to say do not add students as teachers to this classroom, to any classroom. That's just bad practice. What happens is that students start to get additional rights if they're added as a teacher, right? If they're a teacher as a teaching assistant or something in one of your sections, they might be able to do stuff in your class that other students might not be able to. I'm not ever going to do that, all right? Even though it might make our job a little easier. The same rule applies there for Canvas too, right? Like we don't want to have TAs or teaching assistant, what are they called, student aides, be teachers. That's not a good idea. I also recommend that you don't add coworkers to these different sandboxes and stuff because it just starts to mess up that dashboard. But you know, You've got your own way of doing it. So whatever works for you. If you did want to collaborate on one of these sandboxes with another cool colleague, okay. But like as you start to add assignments and stuff like that, those will actually populate in your calendar, and it could start to get a little too much. Just throwing that out there. Okay. So when we first get into any class, this is the same thing that your students will see too. The default view is Stream, which we're currently at right now. Stream is kind of like Facebook. We've got a chronological order of stuff. As you start to add things, items into your different classes, it'll show up in chronological order here on the stream. It's actually not my favorite view. I wish that Google would change it over to classwork. I want that to be my default view, but so we'll always have to click from stream, and then I get into classwork. This is where we can start to, so go ahead and click on classwork at the top, the little tab at the top. This is where we can start to organize those different materials that we might put into one of these classes. Let's click on create, and then we won't click anything just quite yet, but we'll click on create, look at all the different stuff that you can add. We can add assignments. We'll do that today. We can add quizzes. You're going to love that. It's one of the reasons why I would embrace Classroom next school year, especially those elementary teachers out there that have been looking for a way to organize their materials. You're going to love the functionality here of these quiz assignments. Yeah, you can add questions. It's like a little formative, quick, like ABC, I believe. I haven't played around too much with question. Actually, let's just do it, see what happens. Yeah, okay, you can have short answer, you can have multiple choice, kind of like a poll situation, right? So imagine maybe like an in question or a bell ringer. You can post that up there. What else? Material. So one of the maybe downsides of Classroom versus Canvas is that with Canvas, you can create pages of content, right? House all of these amazing resources and design it exactly the way that you want to. It doesn't exist in Classroom, but you can add material, right? So if you're comfortable with like adding a Google Doc that might have all of the content, or a slide deck, or a YouTube video, you can still get your material and your content into your class. It's just not organized the way that that it might be in Canvas. That's okay, right? Think about that. Like Canvas is great as an online environment. If I'm teaching a class and I'm never going to have my students in my classroom, Canvas is great, right? Because I can organize that experience for them using modules. With Classroom, student, unless you're at NVLA, all of your students are going to be there with you, right? So oftentimes all we need is a good, quick way to get a link out to kids. Maybe it's that slide deck that you've been using. So this is a great environment for us. So while we can't organize content the way that we would if a student was engaging with their class asynchronously, it doesn't matter because we're in a blended environment here, one in which we just need to get kids the materials fast. Look at that reuse post. So if I click on reuse post, remember I mentioned you can access different stuff. So let's say that I wanted to, from one of my old sandboxes here, I wanted to reuse one of my, how about this one here, right? This quiz that I made last week. I can click reuse and I can bring those in. So that's what we do here with that sandbox. As you create things in the sandbox, you can send, well, from the student-facing class, you can pull in those materials from your sandbox as you make them. All right, so let's get out of that. Boom. Okay. Also, you can add a Notebook LM. We'll actually do a little bit beyond what we're doing here today. I'm going to be doing like an advanced Google Classroom session, I think in like September. I'm planning it again for Staff Development Day on the September 21st. So if you're interested, you can do that, and I'll probably get into the Notebook LM part of it, but we'll add a gem and you're going to see how easy it is. Skeeter, you have a question? Yes. If you have something, or I don't know if you're just reacting.
Yeah, the only question I had was, do we have to create it in the sandbox to reuse it, or can any test be reused? Okay.
Yeah, not at all. We're creating a sandbox here today just because our the system hasn't generated those those automatically made classrooms for us. So yeah, you don't have to make it in the sandbox at all. Yeah, it's just, but it's cool to have one, and we're creating stuff in that sandbox here today. In fact, here's what we're going to do first. We're going to click on create. We're on classwork tab. Click on the blue button, create. At the bottom of those list of things that we can create, let's click on topic. And I want you to type in that topic that we're going to use here today. And I finally chose mine. What did I say? Acid rain. So I'm going to do that. So take a moment, type in the topic. If you want to, you can just say study skills. All right. So your students will see stream, they'll see classwork, and they'll see grades. From the teacher view, this starts to look a little different here. It's going to look like a grade book. Your students will be put in there. And then all of the list of different assignments that you start to create, you'll be able to organize them nicely. And it doesn't look like much right now unless we had students in there. People, same thing. Notice you can add teachers. Again, don't add students. You can add guardians. You can email that link out to their guardians as well. And then again, like I said, like while we can click this button to invite students, that rostering will automatically happen through Infinite Campus, and so you don't have to worry about that. All right, and then finally, analytics here, I think is actually pretty cool. As students start to interact with your class, it'll give you some important data that you can use to say, well, you haven't opened it, right? That sort of stuff. So cool stuff, and it'll look a lot different once we have students in there for sure. That was the overview. Any questions about that, you guys, before we get into the Gemini in Classroom?
I have a question real quick.
Please.
I'm an elementary resource teacher, so my kids won't be rostered in my class. They'll be in a regular class. Will that option be available to add them to mine? Do you know?
Yeah. Are you going to be, so they'll be in somebody else's class?
Yeah, they have a regular general education classroom teacher, and so I'm sure they'll be rostered into theirs. And then my class is fluid. They come in and come and go,
You might want to then ask that teacher to add you here to theirs.
Okay.
The reason why, if you start to add students, there won't be that connection between Infinite Campus and there, because it's just going to be the name of the kid, right? And that connection doesn't happen. So like, while you can have your own section and create your own class and all that stuff, that communication with your SIS won't happen.
Okay.
All right. But I'll also say, you might want to play around with that too, and then talk to your supervisor about what they specifically want. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Kelly, that's a good question. Will students access Classroom through Clever? That question has never come up, actually. Let's just get into Clever. That's a good question. I don't see Classroom as an option here. I do see Google. So maybe they would click on Google, and then they could get into it through the waffle. That's a great question. I'm going to write that down. And so at the tomorrow, I mentioned I'll send you guys the link, and then I'll see if I can find an answer to that. Okay, that's a good one, and I should know that answer. So let me just do this. Will students access? I'll send you guys a one-pager that's based off of all of the stuff that we go over here today. And like the AI right now is taking notes. I use the notes to create that one-pager. So I'll ask the AI to please answer the question, will students access GC through Clever? And if anybody knows the answer to that, that would be cool. But yeah, Anadra says usually through the waffle. That's what I would imagine. But it would be nice to have a quick little link. So I'll look into it for you. Okay, let's get into this. So no other questions. We're going to move forward here. Let's go back to so we're going to start to get into Gemini here. This is the AI, Google's AI platform. And what I love about it is that it's not like integrated directly into these different classrooms. It's accessible easily through Classroom. So look at your sidebar menu on the left-hand side. from your home. I guess even if you have that sandbox open, you can still do it that way. And look at that link 4 down from the top. If you need to expand and open your sidebar menu, go ahead and do that. It looks like a little piece of paper with a little asterisk star symbol on it. If you didn't open up your sidebar, let's click on that. It's called Gemini. I'll also just give you, I mean, it looks like it's googleclassroom.com/AI. That link is in the chat, so you can open it up that way. What I love about Gemini is that it really helps create some of those productivity tools. It really increases our productivity as educators. It can create assessments really fast. It can help us create content or discussion questions easily. I'm sure that we've all played around with that, or lesson plan really easily here too, or give us ideas and brainstorm ways that we can approach it, thinking about misconceptions that students might have. And we can do all of that through gemini.google.com. But I love the Gemini in Classroom because it's kind of set up to make it really easier. We don't really have to prompt all that much. All right, so take a look here. Let's do this first thing. These are all of the different tools available to us in Gemini. We can come up with a lesson plan. We'll actually generate a quiz towards the end of today's session. We'll also write some informational text, but we can create rubrics, tackle those common misconceptions students might have about our content, help us translate text. The one that I want to touch on here today right now is craft a compelling hook. April, I'll answer that question here, or take a look at it in a moment once I cut you loose in a second, okay? But let's click on craft a compelling hook, please. Like I said, the prompt is kind of like pre-wired in here. So all we have to do is type in that grade level. For me, it'll be 11th grade. And then be really specific with what you're asking it, right? I think of the 3 C's when I prompt the AI. The 3 C's are context, clarity, and critique. We give plenty of context by telling the AI what grade we teach, even the school that we teach at. And then we're very clear about what we're asking, right? Give that specific topic. If you have a standard number, be specific. If you want to reference Tier 1 instructional materials or standards and objectives, you might want to do that here too. All right, just be really specific about exactly what you want out of it. And that 3rd C is critique. That comes after the AI starts to create that output. That critique is a really important part. That's the part where the human element comes back into it. AI can do 90% of the work for us, but it's that last 10% that is really important. That's the human injection of us, right? Of the sparkle and the magic, and what makes us really good at what we do is we can use the AI to help us do the backbreaking, really difficult work. And that last 10% is us taking that baton from the AI and putting our spin on it, making sure that the material is appropriate for our students, right? Vetting the material for accuracy, looking for bias, ensuring that what the output is actually going to be appropriate. So let's take a moment. We're going to type in the topic that we're working on. Notice that you can upload instructional materials as well from your drive. Not a bad idea. And then I love this, spark engagement or curiosity maybe. I'm going to choose a couple of these. And then we'll click generate, see what happens. Very cool, April. Okay, I'm reading your comment now. Yeah, so the things that we create in Gemini, the apps that we chatted about yesterday, now live in your drive. That's a relatively new thing. Now, the stuff that it's just made for us here today, which, by the way, I love, like, this is what I would be doing every day. Sometimes the teaching, for me, could be kind of boring, right? Doing the same thing every year. And what I love about this is that it comes up with some really interesting ideas about how you can approach starting out teaching one of the topics that we might have, right? And it always gives me some really good ideas. I love that it gives me 6 different ideas here oftentimes requires materials that are very few things, right? Sometimes it'll say like none, but oftentimes it's stuff that I can find in my classroom, like this whiteboard and markers idea right down here. I was going to say this. Now, this, if we don't do anything with any of these hooks, they'll disappear if we mouse away from this. So I was going to say, just like those Gemini artifacts exist in our drive, if we click on Export to Docs in the upper right-hand corner, this will transform into a doc, and that doc now will exist in our drive. If we don't care about it, we just needed that quick idea, then you didn't have to do that either. So what I'd like us to do, so find one, just take 30 seconds. I want you to find one and then that you like, and then click on the copy button towards the bottom. It looks like a little triangle. We're going to copy one. Take 30 seconds. Let's go back to that sandbox that we created earlier. Notice that you can access the sandbox using the sidebar menu. That default view, stream. Notice there's a little button there. It looks a light blue for me. It says new announcement. Let's click that. And I want you to paste in the thing that we copied earlier, that little compelling hook. And maybe this becomes the instructions for what students' expectations are for the first 20 minutes of class. In Canvas, we can cross-list sections. If you teach secondary, you might be aware of this, right? So I don't know if you'd want to do it in elementary in the Canvas world, but what cross-listing is it allows you to teach all of your different, well, I guess all of the same sections, all of your different period numbers through the one section, and it makes it really easy to do. Cross-listing doesn't happen in Classroom, but it's very easy to add an announcement like this to all of your different sections. So find where it says for, and then it might say like sandbox here. There's a little drop-down menu, and it will pull up all of your different sections that you might have currently active in your dashboard. And if you want, you don't have to do this part, but you can add it to multiple sections. Here's the thing though, you might, like before I push post in the lower right-hand corner, you are going to want to be very aware that there's all of the misspellings, anything that you like forgot to put in there or whatever. Like make sure that you've really read this a couple times, because if I click post and I say, oh wait, oh my God, I forgot a period or something, you'll have to go to each one of those individual sections and then edit them individually. Could be kind of bothersome and cumbersome, especially when that bell's about to ring, right? Notice too that you can also click on, I mean, gosh, I can add, made a slide deck yesterday, so did April. Click on the drive symbol. If you want to, you can, this is how you can get content out to students too, right? And pull up like maybe a slide deck, practice adding that to your announcement. You can add a YouTube video, kind of cool. Links to websites. You can upload PDFs. Let me do that. Upload the Destination District Strategic Plan. I can find it. There it is. Take a moment, add a couple things to your announcement. See what that's like. What are these add-ons? Oh, that's cool. Something for another day. Let's click post. All right. Boom. We just did our first thing. Gawk at your incredible new announcement. Imagine this could be a way that you can run your entire class. If you didn't want to actually use topics on the classwork page, you can just add things like, hey guys, get into this stream on Classroom. Open up the link that I posted at 10:29 a.m. Easy way to do it, right? Okay, we're trucking along here. How am I going to pull off all of this stuff? Especially with all these tabs open. Let's click on class. Any questions before we move on? We're going to create some informational text. And actually, I was going to say, let's click on classwork. We'll get to that in a minute. What I want to do, let's click on Gemini again. So the fourth link down from the top, click. That's where we found the craft a compelling hook. Let's do this. Let's write an informational text now. We're going to turn this into a good old-fashioned handout, a digital worksheet. Click on it looks kind of greenish. It says write an informational text. Go ahead and click on that, please. And then just like last time, type in your target grade, the topic, generate those learning objectives. Keep clicking that blue button. Click generate or edit, and then click regenerate. Right? Give me a thumbs up in the meet if you are where I'm at, which is I have some informational text in the screen. Yeah, Kristen is. Maybe another moment or so. Christina, thanks. All right, Shannon, I'll wait another 20 seconds, we'll say. Remembering that if I'm going too fast, if I've already lost you, I'll be with this maybe another 5 minutes before we move on. And I'm also recording the session, so you'll have that as a support. Take a look. If that bell's about to ring in 5 minutes and I'm like scrambling here, right? I can click on add to class if I wanted to make this material if I wanted to, but I actually want to I've got a little bit of time. It's 15 minutes before the bell rings. I've got to vet this material. I got to read it for accuracy, right? I love that it says this, check the accuracy of any AI generated content. So you're going to see me do some really terrible practices. I'm not modeling this process very well. Look, we've got 28 minutes left in today's session, so I'm just going to say it's good. But in reality here, I'm going to spend some time actually vetting the material, looking at it, making sure it's appropriate. All right, so before, let's instead of adding to class, let's actually export this to docs. All right, take a minute, and I want you to just kind of play around with it, look at it. Is it appropriate? I want you to format this too. Let's like get rid of some of the, like, I don't know if I need to say target grade 11, but I'll take my title and I'll change the title to like heading 1 maybe. I like to get rid of all of these spaces and then add an extra space. See what I mean in a minute. Yeah. Scroll down where it says points for reflection and inquiry. You know what those are going to be? Those are going to be analysis questions. That's what I love about this. Like, if I use regular old Gemini, I've got to like change the format, all this. If I use the Gemini in Classroom, it always gives me the same exact formatting, which is what I love about it. It kind of standardizes it a little bit, right? Which I think is cool. Watch what I'm going to do. I'll select all, and I'll come up here to the little 2 arrows, one pointing up, one pointing down. It says line and paragraph spacing, and then I'll add a space after a paragraph. That's the classier way to like separate those different paragraphs. I used to teach environmental science, and like, saving paper was a part of it. I eliminated paper using this process in my classroom. I'll say virtually eliminated paper. I stopped printing this stuff out. In fact, if you look at the formatting, if you're looking at my meet screen, it still kind of like looks like an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper here, something that you would print out. Take a look at what I'm going to do. I'm going to format this even more. I'll go up to File. I'll click Page Setup, and I'll click on Page Lists. I love Page Lists because it gets rid of the idea that we even have paper to begin with, right? Click OK, and now I've just got the content in one long stream. There's no like awkward page breaks that might separate important paragraphs. Kids can't say, well, I didn't see it. It's on the second page. It's all just one page. Look what I'm going to do too. Take a look at the analysis questions here. Oops. There we go. Like in the past, we used to like create the lines, okay, there's the first line, there's the second line. What we're going to do instead, since this is a digital world here that we live in, watch what I'm going to do. I'm just going to add a little hashtag at the end of each of these questions, and then I'll highlight that hashtag. At the beginning of the school year, I tell the students, I want you, anytime you see yellow and a hashtag, that's where you're going to write or type. I tell them, don't change the font, don't change the color, please. And you'd be surprised. So as you start to grade them, you look for the yellow, and it kind of works. What else was I going to say? I can't. Something else I was going to say. I can't remember. What else? Take a look at this. You might think, oh, this is what I'm going to say. Here's what I would do. So I really relied on Google Docs when I was teaching AP Environmental Science. And what I noticed is that eventually the kids all start to cheat. And so like what I would do, this would be part of my process. I never did this, but I was like, if I'm going to teach this one more year, here's what I would do. I would have like, how there's always a question on one of these worksheets that's the most important one. Some of them are DOK 1, but there's always like one or two questions that are like, this is the one where they have to connect everything. I would make this like blue, So I'm going to say to my students, like, all of the blue questions, those are ones you're actually going to write out in your composition notebook. Date it, right? And then I want you to put your answer there. I might never actually look at this, right? But here's what I would do. I would say that those answers are your ticket to a retake, right? If you've got a composition notebook and you're showing me that along with the dates, all of the times that you've seen those blue questions, you've answered them in your composition notebook. Here they are. Let's take a look at a couple of them. Now you've got kind of a record that the student has actually been participating. And it kind of eliminates the idea that they can just upload this doc into Gemini and have Gemini answer all of it for them in a tone that's fourth grade style with lots of misspelling, right? Like you can prompt the AI to do exactly that if you wanted to. It's a little harder to do when you actually physically have to write it out. So maybe not do that for all of them, but for the important questions. What do you think? Yeah? Like a system, you know what I mean? I don't know. Feel like it could work. That's what I know. I would be doing that with my students because they do cheat. Like watch this, right? I come over here, Gemini. I'm going to say upload ad from Drive. Let's pull this in. This is what your kids are going to do. Maybe they do this with ChatGPT. I'm going to insert this. Answer the questions. Right. So there you go. And then I could probably even do better, and I could say, answer them as if I am a 9th grade B student. Even better, copy paste job. Now, you might be wondering, okay, what are the security systems? Look in the upper right-hand corner. This is the version history. Let me take one of these. I'm just going to say, this is my answer. Copy, paste it in. I'm going to paste. There we go. Without formatting, done. Looks like I did it, right? Now watch this, the version history up here. Take a look. This shows me all of the keystrokes. Google is recording all of the keystrokes. So if I just magically have a block of text that shows up from one moment, let's see, it's not there now, to the next. Oop, that was my other mistake that I made, or there we go. There we go. So just because the one big paragraph shows up, I can say, oh my gosh, they're cheating, right? They literally cheat. You have proof of that happening. I would show the students that get this one of your docs up onto a Newline screen, show them this is the version history, right? Click on that, show them how, oh my gosh, I can see it. I would love doing this with my, it's a little passive aggressive, but during my parent teacher conferences, I'd go in and are you doing all of your work, Johnny? Oh yeah. Let's take a look here and let's look at the version history. And you can just see, where did this paragraph of this chunk of text come from? Well, it's always kind of fun to do that. And then they stop calling you for parent teacher conferences. Anyway, so this is a way to do that, to keep them on track. You think about this, if you're doing this old school printing this stuff out, they can copy it too. They're just going to write it out from one of their friends, right? So the kids that are going to cheat are always going to cheat. They're always going to find a way to do it. At least with one of these digital docs, you have a way to prove whether or not they actually copied and pasted in text. And I think if you couple that with some good old-fashioned writing in a composition notebook with some system to have that happen, even better. That composition notebook, I'd have the question in every day, the question out. Whatever the heck we're doing is going to be that blue question. That's what I'd be doing. All right, so let's come on over here. Let's go back to classroom. My goodness, 19 minutes left. How are we going to pull it off? Let's do it. We're going to pull it off. Let's go back to that sandbox, and I want to click on that tab that says classwork at the top. Let's click on plus create, that blue button, and then choose assignment. Title it whatever you want it to be. Click on drive. We're going to attach that doc. You can attach as many things as you want, but I'm just going to take that that handout. Now look at my meet screen. This is going to be super important. So toggle back to the meet screen so you can see my visual. If you don't do this, you're going to have to delete the assignment and do it over again. All right. And I guarantee you this is going to happen about 10 times next school year for me before I finally figure it out. I need to change students can view the file. I want to change it to make a copy for each student. When you do that, what happens is that the system, Google, creates the version, the copy for you. You are a co-owner of the doc with the student, puts the student's name in the title and everything. So that when you want to start to get into that version history, since you're an editor on that doc, you have those rights already. In fact, when the student turns in their copy of the doc, those editing rights that they have are removed. They can no longer continue to answer it after they've submitted their answers. So make sure you type or click on make a copy for each student. Any questions so far? Do you ever have them make a copy? I don't. No, you can do this in Canvas too, by the way. If you use the Google Assignment LTI tool, I don't ever have them make a copy. The reason why is because then I have to say, can you make me an editor on that doc? They own the doc. When you do it this way, you own it, you're co-owners with the student, and you both have editing rights. Look at the right-hand side. So another cool thing here too, right? Let's, again, if you're like, quote unquote cross-listing, you can add this to multiple sections. You've got some control over the due date. Make sure you add it to that topic. Remember, we created the topic earlier, right? Those topics are like modules, right? You won't have to set the category in the beginning of the school year. I think it'll actually import your categories from Infinite Campus, so whatever the weighting is, but you'll be able to choose like formative or summative, whatever it is in your Infinite Campus. I like to check plagiarism. Here's what I wanted to show you guys. This is the other really cool thing. So instead of just clicking assign and you're done with it, we'll click on that little arrow pointing down next to the word assign. Look at my meet screen if you want. Click there. Notice that we can schedule this. This is the key. Imagine I had kids 5th period, I send something out into Canvas, and by the time I see them 5th period, they had already done it all because it was 1st period when they got the assignment, right? This is especially important with quizzes. You don't want kids to zoom through it. They can cheat if you're not watching the screen and all that, right? So if I click schedule, now I can have very specific times, very specific due dates, when it will be published. So tomorrow at 8 for one section, tomorrow at 9 for the other. You kind of get the point. Let's add this to a fast. There we go. What am I missing? Please select a due date after the post. Gotcha. Okay. We got to change it. There we go. Looks like there's a little control here. Perfect. Good. I wouldn't mind closing submissions after the due date too. And then when I click schedule, it now will only send those assignments to those students, and they'll only be able to access them at the time that you selected. You can do that for those announcements too. Any questions? I know it's a lot. I'm giving you cognitive overload right now. I'm probably should save some of this for the advanced classroom class, but it's all of the reasons why I'd be using it. Really is. Embracing it. Any questions, folks? All right. I'll wait another moment or so, and then we're going to move on. We'll go back to Gemini in Classroom. Skeeter says, I will practice once. You send the notes. Yeah, I'll send those notes. The AI is making, like, all of the stuff I'm talking about here, I'll transform it using AI into a one-pager. It's kind of cool. So all the tips and tricks and stuff, even the hashtag part will show up. All right, let's go this. We're going to go back to Gemini, the 4th link down from the top. This is the best part. Hands down best part. Click on Generate a Quiz. Just like last time, we're going to fill in the information. Let's choose 10 questions. We'll be doing this all day long with formatives. Notice at the bottom, you've got question types. If you want to have this automatically be graded, choose multiple choice and or true false. The short answer and long answer have to be manually graded by you. AI is not doing that, which I agree with. I'm going to choose all 4 just to put the quiz through its paces, if that makes sense. Like generate questions. All right, are you there where I'm at? I'm now looking at 10 questions of various formats, and you might think, oh my gosh, what do I do now? I have to copy and paste this into something? No, scroll down to the bottom. Click export. I love that. First of all, modify with the prompt. Question 9, turn it into an MCQ. There's also these other options. Add 3 more questions. I'll just do that. Why not? Some of the other options kind of cool. Create a version with more higher order thinking. That's not a bad idea. Scroll down to the very bottom, click export. We can add directly to a class. In fact, let's do that. Add it to a class. That bell's about to ring. Choose that sandbox. Make this a quiz assignment. And what Gemini does is it creates the quiz for you and formats it into a form. Pretty amazing. That form, as the students access it and use it, their answers, as long as it's automatically graded, right? If you have to grade something manually, there's an extra step involved with it. But yeah, you can very quickly get those points in there, send it off to Infinite Campus, and everybody's nice and happy. Take a moment to add a title. Notice that area it says locked mode on Chromebooks. I don't know if this actually works. I mean, it's promising it. I think that's pretty cool. Mouse over this eye, it says respondents will not be able to open tabs or other applications while taking this quiz. Perfection. I can add other attachments like YouTube videos, all this good stuff. Just like last time, I can schedule this out. In fact, I'm going to do that. Just like we did with that assignment. So maybe I'll choose all my sections here first. Hopefully you guys are doing the same thing. All right. If you're doing the schedule route, go ahead and schedule it out. Notice I actually forgot to add it I didn't set my grading category, so I'd have to go into each of my individual sections to fix that. Really make sure, double check, triple check. Georgine's saying, yes, this is great. That's what I'm saying. It's really cool, right? And then look at that classwork. We've got, I think I need to have some convention, I feel like, where I need to call this a quiz. Maybe this is called a digital handout. I'm looking at my screen right now, and there's not a lot of differentiation between the assignment types because I named them all the same thing, but I don't know, you know, I'd come up with that system in my classroom on my own eventually. Yeah, good stuff, right? Pretty wild, right? I feel like there's actually one more cool thing on our agenda that I wanted to share with you guys. So I'm on the classwork tab right now. Work from the top down, we'll click on that blue create button. And this time let's choose gem. And gem is a prompt that you can use over and over again. And you can make your own gems for sure. But this is actually, I'm never going to make my own gems because this does it for me. Google already created these really amazing, ready to go gems. So I'll click on plus create gem. I can either select existing ones that I've already made. Let's say I'm doing a PBL and I've made a PBL gem for my students. I can add that there if I wanted to. But the easiest way is just to click create new. My students are getting ready for an exam that's happening. So I'll click on quiz me. And look what I can do. I can add the content to this gem so that, like that handout that I made earlier, right? If I have slide decks, stuff like that, I can add those to my gem as well. So now the gem understands the content. Students are going to be working for me on topic 7.7 acid rain. And then I click create gem. I just created a nice little quiz me gem very easily and got it into Canvas. It's going to ask me to finalize it. Let's say start. Click update, and we'll come back to my classroom. Add it to my different sections and my topics. All right. Like I can schedule it out just like the other stuff, or I'll just post this one. Pretty wild stuff, right? Any questions about this, folks? You're into it? Yeah. Cool. I think like in my advanced Google Classroom class that I'll do in September, I'll take a look at assignments. So if I click assignment, I think practice sets is something that's kind of interesting. You can actually upload one of those form quizzes that was made earlier and turn it into a practice set. I'm kind of experimenting about what that might look like. Let's just click on it because I got a minute. Created a couple practice ones here. Let's click plus new. This is again, now I'm giving you too much here today. I'm giving you a preview so I can import that form. But I was thinking like I could kind of create like a lab. I don't know, I was a science teacher. And so I'll click import. It's going to take all of those questions and create this little thing now that I've got. So I can click extra help. But I feel like I can have content in between. So if I click the plus sign, I can put some information into it, like a text box. So put some info here, they'll move on to the next question. I don't know, it's like a pretty advanced self-graded handout here. I don't know. Yeah, it's something to explore with those practice sets. I got that from down here when I created a new assignment. That's one of the options. I haven't even clicked on read along. Let's do that real fast. I don't even know what this is. Yeah. Oh, wow. Something to explore here too. What the heck is this? They're always add new stuff, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, we're at the end of today's session, right? Yeah, Heidi, I'm like, what was I looking at? It's like looking at a whole other world there. I'm going to play around with that at the end of today's session. Kelly says, I'm not seeing the gem icon on the left. Okay, good. You found it. Folks, I do this digital learning lab. It's a 30 to 45 minute PL session that I deliver virtually to your small group PLC. Have your department chair reach out to me or your school site administrator or supervisor if they're interested in doing this with your PLC or with multiple groups. And what this would be like, think about it, well, you can get into your classroom, turn off the lights, put your legs up. We'll do a little session here virtually so everybody can be in their own classrooms on their own computers. And we can chat about things like Google Classroom or the practice sets and explore some of these other ideas like GEMS, Gemini, Canva, Canvas, all of these different tools that we have available to us, folks. And so if you're interested, let me know. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me this Wednesday, soon to be afternoon. I'm going to put this link here into the chat. Go ahead and click on that. You can finish it offline. I appreciate you guys. Thanks very much for that feedback too. Heidi, be well. Shanita, Skeeter, be well. Thanks, Melody, for the feedback. Sarah, be well. Everybody, Kara, Christina, Kristen, I'll see you guys soon. Shannon, thank you. Good to see you again. Georgine, good to see you again. Saw you yesterday. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. Soteria, I'll see you guys. Enjoy the rest of your summer. Get out there. It's a gorgeous day out there. Get in that pool. Heck yeah. Anadra, Casey, thanks very much, guys. Kelly and Erica, too. Any